Good evening, everybody. Nice to see y'all again. Elephant in the room. I darkened my hair. So, I like it. It's kind of a natural color. So, we're trying this out for a while. Kind of sick of keeping up with highlights. So, here we are. All right. Today, we're going to sum up last week. We only have one more day. This is the end of the 5th week. I cannot believe we are 5 weeks into this shit. But this would have been Friday, October 14th. I'm sorry. They went to a trick-or-treat and they're dividing their candy, so just ignore that. First witness on this day was Randa Hughes, partner of Chris Newcomb. He testified the day before about the dynamics of the Wagner family, and then Randa testified on Friday morning. She was first. She, of course, testified to her firsthand viewings. I hate my hair tucked behind my ears, but it's like my nervous tick. She testified about the family dynamics of the Wagner family. Keep in mind, Chris Newcomb is Angela's half-brother. Now the dog's whining because, of course, he is. She also said that Chris and Angela did not get along, and he didn't like her. Fair. She sucks. But despite that, when the Wagners were arrested, Angela from jail, I guess. I mean, it doesn't say, but I assume she was making jail calls because she was arrested. So I assume it was her and not going through somebody. But Angela, Jake, and George all were pressuring Chris and Randa to fight for custody of Bullvine and Sophia. They did originally go along with this request, and they did try to fight for custody, but she said once they visited Tabby and saw how happy Bullvine was with his mother, and that she wasn't a terrible mother, like they had been told, that she wasn't this horrible person, and that Bullvine was happy and doing well, they dropped their request for custody. And then Sophia, they were able to see who she was with and saw that she was doing very well and was adjusting, and she was happy. These children were happy. Obviously Bullvine was happy. He was with his mother. He'd been kept away from his mother his entire little life. And just imagine how good he must have felt to be back around his mother. After seeing how well Sophia was doing, they did drop their request for her custody as well. After Jake confessed, Randa said that Chris became infuriated, and he said that he would beat Jake within an inch of his life if he could, and that he was distancing himself from George, but he was very hurt because George was like a brother to him before that. So kind of part 2. Day 23, part 2. Chris was also very angry that Angela had dragged their mother Rita into this. Chris is Angela's half-brother, but they share their mother Rita. And just as a refresher, Chris is 20 years younger than Angela, so he grew up with the boys, not her. He was very angry because he said that Angela had forged their mother's signature on things, used her notary stamp, and these were the custody documents, the fake custody documents, the will that was giving Sophia to Angela. And, that was conveniently done like 2 weeks before the murders. So he was angry that his mother was brought into this. Rita Newcomb was charged with forgery, obstruction of justice. What was the other one she was charged with? Perjury. And that was at the same time she was arrested at the same time as the Wagners, along with Frederica Wagner. The charges were ultimately dropped against Frederica Wagner, and Rita accepted a plea deal. She pled guilty to obstruction of official business, but the state dropped the perjury and forgery charges. She has not been sentenced, and I assume she's going to have to testify. Next up, we have BCI Special Agent Brian White. We have talked to him before, and he is here to talk about the search warrants that were executed June 14th and 15th of 2017. This is while the Wagners were in Alaska. Oh my God, they're so loud. He did say during the search that the agents used ground-penetrating radar, various digging machines, bobcats, that sort of thing, looking for possible evidence on the farm. And there are pictures floating around on the internet. God, my hair is so dark in this video. There are pictures floating around on the internet that I assume were taken from a drone of the backyard dug up. They, of course, found several spent shell casings, same as Ryan Scheider said. They did not, most of them didn't match, but many did match the caliber and the weapons list that Jake is a dumbass and had on his phone. They did say they located some 22 caliber long rifle shells, and that is the same caliber of rifle that was used to kill 5 of the 8. And yes, I know that sometimes I say caliper. My viewers have pointed out to me that it is in fact caliber, not caliper. I am aware of that. I have a lisp. Anyway, next we talked to Julia, the same one that I can't say, the digital records. She testified again to things that she found on the phones, the social media pages. She found a lot of connections between the victims on Facebook pages and their relations to the suspects, and determined that Hannah Mae had blocked George, and Angela blocked basically everybody. So go to the next part. Day 23, part 3. I love that earlier I said eventually Rita Newcomb has to testify. She absolutely testified this day, and I missed this apparently. Because after Julia finishes up, it literally says next was Rita Newcomb. So I apparently didn't finish this day. Julia also found on their Facebook pages some really damning pictures and messages with the Wagners, back and forth discussing George and Jake's tattoos that they got in June of 2016. They posted pictures of their completed tattoos, again, because they're dumbasses. I don't recall seeing what Jake's was. Clearly, I didn't watch this day very clearly. But George's was a skull and an 8-ball. I don't still have the picture. I just looked. But there's a picture in a previous video of George's tattoo that I posted. Here you go. I found it in the screenshots from that day. So there it is. Not sus at all. So anyway, we've kind of talked about the tattoos before. Like, they kind of got into the messages. Honestly, it wasn't anything I hadn't heard before, because, like I said, we did get into these tattoos in some discussion earlier. And then final witness was Rita Newcomb, and we're going to learn what she said together, because I do not remember this. Rita Newcomb is, of course, Angela Wagner and Chris Newcomb's mother. She opted out of being recorded, which, fair enough, I suppose, even though I think that's bullshit that they can opt out of it, but whatever. That would have explained why I don't remember her, I suppose. Well, that took me way too long to connect that. Anyway, she told the jury that she'd never been in trouble her entire life until Angela got her wrapped up in the Roden case by forging her signature on custody documents. Rita said she knew Hannah Mae and her grandson Jake were in legal discussions over Sophia's custody, but didn't think her family had anything to do with the murders of the Roden family. She said, quote, "The kids told me they didn't do it whenever I asked them, and they're my kids. I believed them," end quote. Which, I mean, also same. Like, I would believe that too. I mean, you, of course. Angela asked her to lie to investigators and tell agents that she did notarize and sign the custody documents that stated Jake would get full custody of Sophia in the event of Hannah Mae's death. "I was just trying to protect her until I found out what was going on, and God told me different." Rita said she always told her kids she would do anything for them and felt compelled to keep that promise. Ultimately, her faith won out, she said. "I can't lose my soul over that," she told the jury tearfully. She went to BCI agents and confessed, so they didn't approach her. She outed herself. In the end, she said she spent 8 days in jail for her lies, and to pay her attorney's fees, she had to sell her farm and lost all the money she'd saved to build her dream home. She has since moved in with Chris and Randa. Y'all, that's really sad. That's really sad. Especially if she wasn't actively involved in this. Like, that's really sad. Go to Day 24, part 4. We're still on Rita Newcomb. We just got over her super depressing story of selling her farm to pay for her attorney fees. Even though technically she didn't do anything, as far as I know. Angela did it, and she was just taking it for her daughter, which, I mean, it still is very wrong. But I can also see where she's coming from with that. I'm sure that same thought has crossed every parent's mind when their child does something. That immediately it has to become, are we going to go along with this or not? Rita told jurors that Angela had a hard life, living with a father who abused both Angela and Rita. Angela joined the Air Force to get away from the abuse in the home, but was assaulted during her service. And in the interview that she did that was taped the previous day that they played, she was talking to that agent about her time in the Air Force. I believe she was only in the Air Force for a year and a half. Rita said not long after she came home and married Billy Wagner. Rita thought Billy was trouble and did not want Angela to marry him, told Angela not to marry him, but, you know, classic, I do what I want child thing. She did it anyway. That paid off, let me tell you. Defense attorneys pointed out to Rita that the custody document forgery. I had just filmed that part 3 separate times because I cannot say that. That the custody document forgery wasn't the only time Angela took advantage of her mother. Rita reluctantly conceded that she suspects her daughter and grandsons may have stolen her beloved longtime horse and sold it. What kind of fucking family is this? Who sells your horse? Hell. Like, wouldn't you notice if the horse was missing? Like, do you think it just ran away? I have further questions about this horse. And what the fuck? Who takes your mother's horse? That's her longtime horse. Like, horses live a long time. They're companions to people. The fuck is happening here? That's all for this day. We got through that one pretty quickly. So we have 4 more days, counting today, to catch up on. We'll see. Probably tomorrow. I at least wanted to get this one done today. The other ones I'll probably do tomorrow. I do have to go into work. Here's my niece and my son. And my nephew's holding the sword. So I should probably deal with that. I was made aware on Facebook that there is a YouTube channel. I haven't watched her videos yet, but she does daily recaps as well. Haven't watched them. Don't know her. But there are like 40-minute long YouTube episodes on there that you could listen to instead of me if you wanted to. Like if you just don't like me or if you're one of the people that thinks I'm a mean old bitch. So anyway, that's probably all for today. I will see you all tomorrow. Stay fat, my friends. You know, I was really surprised at Jake's plea. I wasn't surprised that somebody pled, but I was genuinely shocked that it was Jake. I honestly expected it to be George. Because if you really step back and look at it, George has no skin in this. Like, he had everything to lose and nothing to gain. I mean, it wasn't his child. It wasn't his drug dealing partners. It wasn't any kind of beef that he had with anybody. He didn't stand to gain any custody. He already had custody of his son because they bullied Tabby into it. So yeah, I was actually really shocked that it was Jake. I fully expected somebody to flip, especially once they got him all separated in jail. But I was genuinely shocked when it was Jake. Genuinely.